The Call of Duty Black Ops series has no shortage of iconic maps, weapons, and moments.
The numbers, Mason, what do they mean?
I mean, I don't know about y'all, but at this point, I personally know the Nuketown houses better than I know the house that I actually grew up in. And that's not just because of the repressed childhood memories. But among all of these icons, we have a map like Standoff, which as of this week has now appeared in 6 separate Call of Duty titles, including the newest Black Ops 7, despite it really not looking like anything too crazy on the surface. I mean, let's face it, it's kinda boring. It's nothing but an S-shaped street cutting through a kinda nondescript town, a map that we've seen tons of times before and since. But really where Standoff has always shined is in its gameplay. Plain and simple, with, in my opinion, the perfect spread of short, medium, and long-range areas. It's just a well-rounded map, leading it to being plucked up from the miners a few years ago, and still, to this day, getting a decent amount of mileage. Now, all of that said though, has anyone ever actually stopped to take a look around this weird fucking town? So I'm just gonna start off here in the original, which is located in Kyrgyzstan, in BO2's sci-fi take on 2025. Although looking at it now, that actually may come as a surprise to you, because it's so shockingly not futuristic. In fact, it almost screams Cold War era, with the older tanks in the street and a big Soviet-era statue in the middle of the intersection, which actually is just a really dumb design. It's way too small to be a roundabout. Why not just drop a stop sign down and call it a day? It's right next to a farm, for God's sake. Every time that you pull in and out of this thing, you gotta make the left all the way around. It's nonsense. What the fuck are they doing over in Kyrgyzstan, man? But anyway, the point is that it feels like a 60s era map. Right? Like it feels like if you removed a single screen over in the hostel, this could have just been slotted in as a BO1 DLC map, no? A comparison that actually only makes more sense when you fast forward 3 entire remakes later to when they brought it into Black Ops Cold War, which took place during that era, and they faithfully remade it by literally changing nothing to it to make it age appropriate. Even the train blocking the road is still there. And then that exact same vibe carries us right into the newest BO7 remake. Like it's clearly just set in the 1960s. Now I'm not saying that they really needed to change it or anything, and I actually really like it when remakes try their best to match the original aesthetic regardless of where the new game actually takes place. But it is a little funny that of all maps from the future era of COD, this is the one that gets brought back the most, and it has absolutely nothing to do with its setting. I mean, even the new BO7 version has the same old TVs in place of the flat screens of the original. It's almost like it's a remaster of the Cold War version, despite this game being set after the future BO2 timeline. It's like this whole village is just frozen in time. Kinda like Desmond in Season 3, Episode 8 of the TV show Lost. Okay, that should be 3 in a row. All 4 of you guys out there who are counting, this one's for you. And speaking of things that don't make a lot of sense, I wanted to take a look at what everyday life must be like for the people who live and patronize Standoff's little village here. Starting with the unlabeled corner store that's probably the most egregious. So first of all, there's no main entrance to this place at all. I'm sure there are these 2 blacked out double doors in the front, but they, along with the windows, don't actually appear on the other side. Plus, there's a clear gap between the inner and outer walls here, which almost implies that there is a second store in front of this one. But yet, there are ads on the windows here that are for products that you can actually find inside. It's as if there is another store selling the exact same products just right in front of this one. I mean, no wonder this thing looks abandoned. There's an entire other store stealing all of its foot traffic. Outside of that store, then we have a ton of pallets that seem to have been delivered to the wrong address, because they're actually all full of something called electric. Meanwhile, there's nothing anywhere on this map that could even come close to being classified as an electronics store or anywhere else that would have this amount of volumes of electric goods. I don't even know what is electric. Is that like a toaster? Is that a computer? These are questions I don't have the answers to. One other thing that I want to draw your attention to is right around this same area, we have this big yellow sign, which when doing research into this map a little bit, I guess is a big Mandela effect thing where people don't actually remember that it was there in the original and thought that they just added it later in Cold War for some reason. But sure enough, I'm in the BO2 map right now, and it's right here. But if you're one of those people freaking out right now, having some kind of existential crisis over this sign actually being here, you don't have anything to worry about, okay? There is nothing to fear. In fact, the sign actually translates in English to the beginning of the end. Do not be afraid of radioactive precipitation. You see, there's absolutely nothing to worry about here. But realistically, I think this sign just looks a little bit out of place because they very obviously just added it in after the fact to help break up a sightline from the garage's window down to the playground. But that whole bit about radioactive precipitation, that's only the tip of this map's confusing lore iceberg. Because as far as any kind of story is concerned here, it's actually really hard to parse together. So clearly there's some kind of ground invasion on this town. And the insignia on the tank would suggest that they are the SDC, aka the Chinese faction in this game. Although, despite them being playable in the game's multiplayer, they are actually not one of the two factions on the map, and instead the two teams are the SEALs and Mercs, implying that maybe this is some kind of false flag operation that the US is carrying out in Kyrgyzstan. I'm not entirely sure why or even how it would fit into the broader story of the rest of the game that is about the US versus China, with Menendez, who is from Nicaragua, kind of sandwiched in the middle. But I also kind of think I might be the first person to actually think about this that deeply. So I might just leave it there and move on. But now, after Standoff's initial run, where it won the hearts and minds of every MLG pro in the world, the map actually didn't come right back and entered Treyarch's vault actually for quite a while. I mean, we're talking 2 entire years? But basically just until their next game. Allow me to introduce you to Outlaw. See, Black Ops 3 didn't like doing direct remakes, so each map that they chose to bring back to the table for seconds needed to have a completely new theme, and as such, Raid became a Roman villa, Outskirts got mechs and a big laser thing, and Standoff got its own Wild Western take on the classic layout, now taking place in a small town by the name of Grave Hill, located just to the west of the Bone Spring Formation on the border of New Mexico and Texas, according to this railway map found in the train station. And obviously, a new theme meant all new businesses would open up along the street. So the hotel is now a jail, the house is now a hotel, the gas station became a horsey station, and that corner store is now a saloon that's full of pictures of the rest of the town. I'm pretty sure that photos back in the day cost like $300 and 2 weeks to develop, and y'all wasted your time on this instead of just installing a window. But despite looking like we're set in the past, Black Ops 3 was, of course, a future game with jetpacks, meaning that even though the layout was virtually the same, the game's new movement mechanics would change up exactly how it flowed. Although it actually wasn't that much different than you might think. The big thing was that you could now instantly jump to the second floor of the 2 power positions toward each spawn, making them a bit less valuable as they were now easier to flank, which led to the map being a little bit more run and gun than before, which, to be fair, is kinda how all new COD maps played by that point. And now this was a super late stage DLC though, so I really wouldn't blame anyone for forgetting or maybe even not knowing the first time that this map even existed in the first place, as it was kind of buried. But hey, speaking of buried, the very next time that Standoff would make an appearance would of course be in Black Ops 4's BR mode, Blackout, as part of a post-launch POI by the name of Ghost Town. See, here they combined the intriguing underground western town of Buried with the not nearly as intriguing above-ground western town of Outlaw, out by the wind turbines, where I never really went. I don't know about anyone else. I was only ever really here when the circle made me, so maybe that's why I completely forgot this existed. And honestly, it's about exactly what you'd expect from a multiplayer map turned big map section. Some areas are a bit expanded compared to what we've seen before, but it comes at the cost of details being baked out. However, now that there are openable doors, you may start to realize that there is actually no conceivable way of getting to the 3rd story of the main sheriff's station. I mean, I even parkoured my way up, and these windows are just completely unbreakable. So, you know, I guess that's just more proof that BO4 was all just a big simulation and is sitting with Avalon as a sketch in Alex Mason's dream journal somewhere. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 iterations of Standoff to hit Call of Duty so far. But if you'll remember, I actually led this video off by saying that there were 6, which means that there is 1 map left. Now, I could be referring to the old Warzone Gulag layout, or even its piecemeal addition to Verdansk 84 at some point over the years, or hell, I could even be talking about Fringe, Warhawk, or even Scar now, which I've always referred to as just Standoff 2, 3, and 4, non-respectively. But none of those would really be fair, because the 6th one is an actual, real map named Standoff that actually released a full 4 years ago. It is, of course, everyone's favorite, Standoff Halloween. So yeah, this is a COD mobile map. I hope I didn't disappoint anyone too much. But not only is it a COD mobile map that, if you're like me, you've never played COD mobile, so you don't even know what that world is like. But on top of that, it was a limited time map that, as far as, if I did my research correctly, which jury's still out on if I'm actually good at reading, was only available in October of 2019, which now that I'm thinking about it is more than 4 years ago. I don't know why I said 4 years earlier. Shit. Man, the jury came back. I definitely am not able to read. But please, pardon my ignorance. If you are a COD mobile player, let me know what this map was like, because that whole game is just a big blind spot for me. You know, I know that millions of people play it, but I don't really play games on my phone. To me, my phone, I do 2 things on it. I text and I call my mom. And those are the only 2 socially acceptable things to do with your phone. If you're watching this right now on your phone, click off. Shoo! Pull it up on your laptop like an adult. I'm getting so distracted. So, Standoff Halloween is a Halloween version of Standoff. Shocker. Wow. And with that finally wraps up every single time that this simple little map has echoed through the vacant halls of Call of Duty history. At least for now. Because let's all be honest with ourselves, Standoff is the kind of map that will be all dead and buried in the graveyard out back before Call of Duty ever lays it to rest. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about Standoff. Is it a classic? Was it secretly held back BO1 DLC? Let me know down below. Thank you so much to my channel members who are listed everywhere all around me. At this point, we have too many. I think I'm gonna have to start scrolling them. I really do apologize if you became a channel member, if you hit that join button under the assumption that these names wouldn't scroll. I'm so sorry. They have to scroll now, and it's gonna be okay. If you don't want to become a channel member, that's fine. You don't have to hit that join button, but maybe if you could hit that subscribe button, that one's free. You know, that one's just as good in my book. Anyway, that's it.